Sri Vishnu Sahasranam, name 784, is Durgama. Dur means difficult, and Gama gives the sense of going. So it's difficult to get to him. And this name has very similar meaning to the names in this vicinity in Vishnu Sahasranam, like Durlabha, Durga. When I hear the name Durgama, I automatically think of my old friend, godbrother, Durgama Prabhu. From Italy, we were traveling together on a traveling Sankirtan party doing book distribution, mostly in West Bengal, and we went to other neighboring states also. So my old friend Durgama, wherever you may be, I offer my pranams to you. And my old friend Durgama means Vishnu. My oldest friend, the oldest friend of all of us. Although this name is somewhat forbidding, isn't it? Difficult to go to him. Well, that's not for everyone. Just like it may be difficult for any ordinary citizen to approach the President of the United States of America, but it's not difficult for his wife or children to approach him. Durgama, or Durgam, is a fairly common word we find in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Durlabha, Durgama. Vrindavan is described as Durlabha, Durgama, hard to attain, hard to go to. In Bhagavatam, one example of the use of this word is referring to the great inundation of water at the time of the Matsya avatar. It was very difficult to cross over this ocean. Srila Prabhupada translates, the Manu named King Satyavrata formerly saved himself by tying the small boat of the entire world to the horn of the Matsya avatar, the fish incarnation. So we can imagine how big Matsya is if the whole world seems like to be a small boat in relation to his horn. By the grace of the Matsya avatars, Manu saved himself from the great danger of the flood. He was able to cross the danger of the great flood. Parashara Bhatta gives the meaning he is difficult to attain, and specifically because of his effulgence. And he gives the idea that just like those who have weak eyes, they cannot see the sun at midday. Well, people who have weak eyes can't see the sun at any time of day, but the eye of the human being is intrinsically too weak to be able to look at the sun at midday, especially in a tropical climate such as the one I am living in. Well, it's not really a tropical climate, it's a tropical latitude. In this regard, Sri Parashara Bhatta invokes Danda Pupika Nyai. Nyai literally means logic, and it's often used with other words to describe certain metaphors or examples which help us to understand a point. So danda means a stick, and pupika means a certain type of cake. There are various ways of interpreting danda pupika nyai, but they all have the same basic meaning. Now, say for instance, there's a cake with some little sticks like toothpicks, which are stuck in the cake, and someone tells you, the sticks have been eaten by rats. Even the sticks have been eaten. So that means the cake's also been eaten. And they even ate the sticks, what to speak of the cake. So in the same way, if the stick is something trivial in relation to the cake, it's not the important thing. So something as unimportant as the sun, which is of unlimited importance to us in our present situation, but compared to Bhagavan, whose effulgence and glory and splendor is so much greater, the sun is completely insignificant. So if we cannot even see the sun with our eyes, then what is the question of seeing Bhagavan? Now this gives some idea of how great he is. We can't see him. People say, show me God. Could we see him? And then we would tell people, okay, I'll show you God. Just one other thing. I want to show you the sun. Have a look at the sun. Can you see the sun? We can't look for more than a split second. And we can't say, I'm looking at the sun. Or even if theoretically you could look at the sun, maybe you could wear some 10 pairs of dark glasses, all one on top of each other. But what could you understand about it? Therefore, atashri Krishna namadina bhaved grahyam indriyai sevon mukhe hijivado swayameva spuratiyada. We cannot comprehend the Supreme Personality of Godhead through our mundane senses. People say, show me God. What is the power of our eyes to see? And what is the power of our intelligence to understand? But when he reveals himself, which he will do, if we are inclined to serve him, then he reciprocates. And then we can see him when he wants to show himself to us. Another example with the sun, in the nighttime, however much we try to see the sun, we can't see the sun. But when the sun, by his own sweet will, rises, then we can see. Now we have to say we can see just when the sun is rising. We can see the sun. We can even look a little bit just when rising. Although here in this tropical latitude also, then even the rising sun may be difficult to look at. So the point is that he is realized with great difficulty. Practically impossible to realize him at all. What to speak of Bhagavan? Again, we can cite this or invoke this Danda Pupika Nyai. Even to understand any ordinary person, very difficult to understand. The psychologists, they try to understand what is going on in the mind of a person. The person himself can't understand. And psychologists may try to understand and offer some pertinent advice to him. But it's very difficult to understand even one person. Why do they do things, and what motivates them, and what are the complexities of their thoughts? We ourselves can't understand the complexities of our thoughts. If we examine this phenomenon from a from the perspective of neurological science, then it's very hard to understand. There are so many connections in our brains, and they're all firing so fast, all over the place. Firing so fast if you want to accept that theory, but actually electric sparks, no, not exactly. And even to understand what's going on in the brain, psychology is one thing, and neuroscience is something else, and the interface between neurology and psychology, even to understand it, and science in general is very difficult to understand. Philosophy is very difficult to understand. And what to speak of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's beyond all these things, and stands in his own glory. So even to understand anything via any cerebral process is difficult, or even to understand the workings of the cerebral process. Just like you can study, for instance, calculus, and then once you've understood, then you can learn how to apply that to various statistical problems, or problems in the sense of statistical phenomena, to judge, to interpret phenomena that are derived from statistics, or you can use it to judge or all kinds of things used in civil engineering and so many different things. But first of all, you have to understand the basics of how to use that system of calculus, and to do that, then say if you want to use calculus first of all you have to understand arithmetic, and then some geometry, and then for statistics, it's a whole science in itself. And then there's the whole interpretation of statistics, which goes outside the realm it starts to go outside the realm of mathematics. It's a very big thing just to understand how to use the tool, what to speak of actually studying the complex phenomena that the tool is meant to study. And again, just like the sun is there, and the sun is so powerful and so mighty, but Krishna is so much more powerful and mighty. How can we think that we can even begin to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by our own tiny little abilities? Therefore, Durgama, all this discussion, atheism, theism, it's going nowhere. What's the answer? Atapite deva padambuja dvayam prasada leshanugrahita eva hi. Janati tatvang bhagavang mahim no nachanya ekopi chirang vishinvam. Unless we get a little drop of His mercy, and remember, a little drop of His mercy is enough to drown the whole world in bliss. Tiny drop of Bhagavan's mercy. Ekang shena stito jagat. With a tiny spark of His splendor, He maintains the whole universe. Unless we get some modicum of His mercy, then we can't understand Him at all. Even if we try, we can't understand His glories even slightly, even if we try and try and try and try. Because our unassisted mind, senses, and intelligence are simply not up to the task. He can reveal Himself to us. But even then we can't understand it, because we don't have the capacity. Here's a nice, imagine there's a plate. Okay, it's quite a big plate for someone with a small stomach like me. So if you fill for me it looks like quite a big plate. Say the diameter is like this. But can you put an elephant on that plate? Trying to put an elephant on a plate? And we want to put Bhagavan in our mind. We may think, well, I've been practicing meditation for so many years. I'm very good at meditation. I've read many books. I've heard many discourses on spiritual subjects. Well, if we actually have made some advancement spiritually, then we'll know it's very, very, very difficult to approach the Supreme Lord. And what about those who never even tried to control their senses? There's no question of even beginning to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It requires total surrender, total dedication, total focus on Krishna. If we're trying to enjoy the material world and at the same time attain Krishna, it's just a wild fancy. Not possible at all. But it is, Durgama means difficult to attain, but it could be translated as impossible to go to. Actually, Durlabha means difficult to attain, and Durgama means difficult to go to. It's slightly nuanced difference. But it doesn't say like it's impossible. It is possible. Anything is possible by His mercy. if I look at myself, it's impossible for me to go anywhere near Krishna. But by divine grace, by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, which my most wretched self has, by His own causeless mercy, I've attained His divine grace, Krishna's divine grace manifesting in the form of my most worshipable spiritual master, the spiritual master of the entire universe, His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. And by His mercy, the whole world can attain Krishna. So it is possible to attain Him, and go to Him. He promised us. You chant 16 rounds, follow His principle, you go to Krishna. You can go. Don't just go to Him. What are you going to go? Are you going to go and gawk at Him? No, you can go and massage His feet and make up some pan for Him, fan Him, dance with Him, or you can prepare for His bathing. After He's bathed in the Yamuna, you can dry Him off. So many things. It's not just a matter of going to Him. So, someone may say they went from India. Oh, I went to America. Oh, really? What did you do there? No, I didn't do anything. I just went and I turned around and came back. And so it's not just a matter of going, but going implies there's so many things we have to do there. Maybe the Mayavadis think that. They just go and they merge into the light and then nothing left to do. Okay, finished. We're not Mayavadis. We want to go to Krishna, to serve Krishna. And when we get the possibility to, when we get the idea, which we got from His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, to serve Krishna, then that is the very means by which we can go toward Krishna, go forward. And we get more inspiration as we go along on the path. Even though there are setbacks and we ourselves, by our own foolishness, we hold ourselves back, but we can go forward. And we have confidence that even though Krishna is Durgama, hard to go toward, but by the divine grace of Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu, Adhama Janara Bandhu, His divine grace, who we sing to every day, is the ocean of mercy and the friend of the most fallen person. So even we can go forward toward Him. Another example, His effulgence is so great we can hardly go toward Him. In this regard, we can give the example. If we have a little candle or a torch, a flashlight that's called in American English, in the dark we can just light up a little bit and just see a little bit ahead of us. But when the sun rises, we can see everything. That example Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita in the matter of attaining self-realization. Jnanena tu tadagyanam yesham nashitam atmanaha tesham adityavajnanam prakashayati tatparam. Krishna gives the example that we are in the darkness of ignorance, but when the sun rises, then we can see everything very clearly. So in the same way, when Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hoyandaka Jahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Maya Adika. When the sun of Krishna arises, then the darkness of ignorance, of Maya illusion, that is automatically dispelled. When we're in the dark, it may be very hard to find our way. We may have a little light. We may have a little light, like a little flashlight, and we're looking here and there, and that may help us, just like we may be pious and religious and follow the path of dharma, or we may worship Krishna but with some material desires. We may chant Vishnu Sahasranam, but with an impersonal understanding. So that's not like being a gross, hedonistic atheist. little light is there. But really we want the sun of complete knowledge to arise. That is Krishna. Then the Durgam, the path which is very difficult to traverse, becomes Sugam, very easy to go. That the easy journey to other planets. The title is translated in English, in Hindi, as Anya, I can't remember exactly, Anya Lokon Ka Sugam Yatra. Easy journey. Easy journey means Sugam Yatra. Now our path is Durgam, difficult to traverse, but it becomes very easy by divine grace. If we just have a little flashlight, we can try and go forward. We can just go forward a little bit, but we can't see what's up ahead. There may be a wall up ahead, and we may proceed for quite a distance, and then find, oh, there's a wall, and then we have to trace our path back and try and find another path, but we can't really see where we're going properly. Baladev Vidyabhushan, our revered Gauriya expounder of the delightful mysteries of Sri Vishnu Sahasranama, says that this name Durgama means he who is comprehended by reflection on the Upanishads, which is difficult to accomplish. It's even to try to understand the Upanishads, that can be very difficult. Even to enter into it, the Upanishads, it's very mysterious kind of language. The process is given in the Upanishads itself. Is that Chandogya or Brihadaranyaka? I suppose I'm not alone in getting mixed up between the two often as to where the quote comes from. They're similar in many ways, these two Upanishads, which out of the principal Upanishads are, in terms of content, much bigger than the others. Okay, so how to arrive at the absolute truth by the Upanishadic method is Shravan. Okay, we have that in Bhakti also, but there are just three stages given here. Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasana. Shravan means to hear. One undergoes Upanayanam, the ceremony of the Vedic initiation, so that one it means to come within the eyesight of the Guru. That means to come close to him. And then we become close means Upanita, and then we can study the Vedas, which include the Upanishads, which is the Vedanta, the concluding portion of the Vedas, the knowledge portion. So how to understand that? Shravan, we're within eyesight of the Guru, we're within audible range, we can hear what he says. So Shravan, we hear. Then the next stage is Manan. We have to think about it, reflect, try to comprehend. And then Nididhyasana, which is interpreted in this term Nididhyasana, is interpreted in various ways. It can be interpreted as realization. Now, in this name Durgama, here are two really Madhva style interpretations of the name Durgama. Taking the name, splitting the Sanskrit word in the verse to take it as Adurgam, and explaining it that Chaturmukh Brahma and others are called Adurga, because there is no ignorance or darkness in them. There's no influence of tamagun in them. Vishnu takes them along with him, therefore he is called Durgama, by Adurgam, because it's easy for them to approach Vishnu. He takes it because they have no ignorance whatsoever in them. In the Madhva language, that is, they are mukti yogya, they are suitable for liberation, and therefore, and Vishnu takes them. Liberation in Madhva's teachings means, Vaishnav liberation. They go to the spiritual world, and there they will be placed according to their, within a hierarchy of devotees, which is different to Ramanuja's idea of anyway, there's so many things. But the fact that the demigods, we call Brahma a demigod, the chief of the demigods, or the first of the demigods, the fact that they give so much importance to them, to the demigods as devotees of Vishnu, is very Madhva in its typology. Then another very Madhva type of interpretation, which also comes from the Madhva publication, that Vishnu is called Durgama because he brings grief to the demons. So that's also a very typical Madhva style understanding. They put they classify living beings in this world as Mukti Yoga, those who are going to be liberated, Samsara Yoga, those who stay within this, rotating within material existence, and Tama Yoga, those who go to hell. So Vishnu punishes them, and therefore he's called Durgama. Exactly the derivation. Durgo dukam gamayati daityan prati durgamaha, it's stated. There are several other meanings given by the commentators on this name Durgama, but they're pretty much the same as those already given for Durlabha, therefore I won't treat them here. Some other meanings of Durgama given in the Sanskrit to English dictionary: unattainable, inaccessible, impassable. They're almost synonyms. If you look in a thesaurus, you'll find them grouped together. Yeah, I'd said about Vrindavan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said about going to Vrindavan, Durlabh Durgam Shai Nirjan Vrindavan Ekaki Jaibo Kiba Shange Ekajan. It's very difficult, Durlabh, very difficult to attain that Nirjan Vrindavan. Nirjan in this context can be understood to mean that materialistic people cannot enter there, or it's a difficult place to live. Durlabh, hard to attain, hard to go to. Vrindavan is hard to go to, hard to attain. And therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I'll go by myself or maybe with one other. And that, my kind listeners, devotees, definitely, who else but a devotee of Lord Vishnu would listen to this? That is all I'm going to say now on the name Durgam, and I pray that the grace of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, descend on you, so that your yatra, your journey toward Lord Vishnu may be Sugam Yatra, may be a easy, delightful path to Him. But at the same time, you know very well that Krishna often arranges for the path to be difficult. Yes, the path may be very difficult for us, but that difficulty makes it easy for us to go to Krishna. So when we say it's easy to go to Krishna, yeah, it's easier than rotting in material life for unlimited lives. It might not be as easy in our imagination as lying on a beach under a coconut palm drinking lassi and just generally chilling out. We may have to accept so many difficulties. Srila Prabhupada said, I went through fire to serve Krishna. So if we can follow in his footsteps, then we'll find that certainly our path to Krishna becomes open by His divine grace. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dante nithaya churnakang padayo nipatya kritvacha kakushatameta ravimi. He sadhava sakala eva vihaya durat Gauranga Chandra Charane Kurutanuraga. Parivadatu Jano Yata Tata Va Nanumokaro Navayang Vichara Yamaha. Hari Rasa Madira Madati Mata Bhuvi Vilutama Nartama Nirvishama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.